And it makes no sense to me. So not only will we be paying for our plan, we're going to then be paying for a national plan for 4 years, not going to get any benefits. And you look at the backroom deal with Nebraska and Louisiana, it's broken. It's really to the point now where there's no faith throughout anybody in the country on this particular bill. I would vote against it to bring it back because I do believe that everybody's entitled to health care coverage. We've done it here. And I would be happy to go down there and tell them how we did it and then learn from other states if they'd like to come forth and bring ideas to create their own plan in favor of government incentives to help stimulate that. But why do we need a one-size-fits-all government approach, 16% of the industry, trillions of extra dollars, and we already did it? It makes no sense.
Mr. Kennedy.
We already did it. We did it very poorly. Our, let's be honest here. We pay more or higher premiums than any other state per person, and our premiums are going up faster. We didn't address the cost. Now let's take a look at the healthcare industry in general. What's the one area of healthcare that year after year goes down in price? It's elective surgery. And the interesting thing is a lot of people say, well, that's elective surgery. But if you take a look, there are a number of things that happen in regular surgery that happen in elective surgery. For example, anesthesia. So anesthesia in general during elective surgery is much cheaper than it is if you go via a healthcare provider. Why is that? It is because of insurance companies. It is because of the regulations that we have in place. Today, 57% of all medical spending is done by the government in some way, shape, or form. And that is why prices keep going up. There is an antitrust exemption that is in place that allows insurance companies not to compete with each other. And that is why prices go up. We all know that if you've got two gas stations across the street from each other, one with a lower price, the prices will eventually go down between those two because they have to compete. We didn't do it in Massachusetts, which is something that Scott put in place. We're not going to do it in Washington, which is something that Martha is advocating, and we have to address that first. For it to be something that people can access or have access to, we have to make it affordable.
But let me address Massachusetts first, because it is important to understand that every year these costs are going up 8 to 10%. And so your proposal, Scott, is to give the connector authority to take away what we are trying to do, which is provide coverage and care for people like mammograms, cervical cancer screenings, hospice care for seniors. So your proposal to cut costs, which is what we should do, is to give the insurance companies a break and to cut services for people who need it. So that's counterproductive. That's the only solution you've offered so far to rising prices at 8 to 10% a year. So we can't do that. This bill, the Senate bill we're talking about, and it may change before it comes out in final form, is good for Massachusetts. We are going to get reimbursed for some of the costs we pay for now for Medicare, up to $500 million. We're going to close that donut hole for prescription prices for seniors. We will get benefits from this bill, including the ability to provide for some competition, because the bill allows for companies to sell insurance across state lines, and we will totally benefit because we're ahead of the rest of the country in looking at those issues.
Well, it's preposterous to think that I would want to cut cancer screenings and cervical cancer. I live in a house full of women, first of all, and to think that you would even infer and bring in the gender card to think I would do that is, I think, unfair. The Connector Authority, we have 37 mandates. Chiropractic care. I do not need in vitro fertilization. Other people may. We need to look at every mandate we have, because that's one of the things that's driving prices up. We also have the way we do managed care, and also the way we actually deliver billings. You said that the items that I even referred to would save between $400 and $500 million. And when you're looking at what the Connector Authority would do, it would have the ability to look at everything, make suggestions, and then tailor those plans for individuals who fit that mold. For example, a woman would have a certain type of coverage, a man, a young, old, and they would have the ability to reduce pricing and offer a different plan. That's what the intent was when we first did it. We haven't gotten there. We've done pension reform, transportation reform, ethics reform. We know we need to do pricing reform, but to think that we would actually take a plan that we've already done and throw it out and take a federal plan that's going to cost over $1 trillion, hurt Bay State Health and all the great hospitals, nurses, doctors, and other facilities, cut Medicare $500 billion. The fact that Senator Kerry was able to secure some money to offset those costs, we don't need to go down to Washington and shake a tin can every time we need to fix something, because we're ultimately still paying for it. We can fix what we have, and then we can show the other states how to do it, and we should work with them to create their own plans. We shouldn't be subsidizing what they fail to do.
I know you want a response.
Just quickly, but the bill that you filed, Scott, says that you will allow the connector to remove those mandates, which means that insurance companies get to choose, and you have a family plan, presumably. And so these plans work. That's why they're mandated. If there's no use of that, then there is no cost involved. But if you don't have them mandated, and insurance companies won't do it to save costs, the people who lose out are not just women because of cancer screenings, but we don't save the cost that we should be saving because we're preventing disease. It's better for people, it's better for costs. And one of the issues was hospice care for seniors. So don't say that your solution isn't to cut out what we're trying to do, which provide coverage for people and to make sure people get good health care.
Well, just in response to that, once again, to think that we would cut those basic coverages, the whole goal initially was to get a basic plan for everybody. And of course there's going to be hospice care, there's going to be breast cancer and mammogram screenings and early child care intervention. Those are things that I actually voted on and will continue to support.
But that's the reason they were mandated. You're saying we're going to remove the mandate.
No, I never said we were going to remove the mandate, and you're misrepresenting it. And it's preposterous to think that the Connector Authority would not look at preventative measures to ultimately save money. It would dramatically reduce the cost of these basic policies that we're providing. And if somebody wants additional chiropractic care or additional items, they can pay an additional fee. And the bottom line is that
seniors who want hospice care will have to pay additional fees.
That entire plan will go way down. And then the additional mandated coverage, and of course that's going to be covered in the basic plan. You know it.
No, that's the reason that it was mandated in the original bill, because insurance companies will skimp on it, consumers lose, and it will be to the benefit of insurance companies and not to consumers of health care.
Well, we can agree to disagree. I disagree.
Consumers lose because we don't have a choice, because there are such things as mandates. I've heard Scott say it before, and I think that this is one of the few things that me and Scott agree upon. Mandates drive costs up. And the whole health care plan is what? It's a mandate. Different people have different health care needs, and they want different things from their health care solution. Right now, a person under 35 who has to pay $1,000 if they don't get Massachusetts health care, it's a losing deal for him or her. They're not getting equitable coverage. They're not getting coverage they don't need. They don't want to pay for it, and they lose out on that bill. Essentially, we need to repeal Obamacare. I think that we should repeal mass health care. We should make insurance companies compete against each other and drive the costs down. Then when the costs are driven down, we can take a look at the individuals who aren't covered, the 8 to 10%, and we can let the government deal and put a plan together for the 8 or 10%. Why do we need to put a plan together that covers everybody and eliminates everyone's choice when we really only need to cover 8 or 10% of a population that's sitting on the side